Hello guys, so a new legendary hero has been released and it's Gunnthra, and today I'll be bringing in several unit builds that you can build your Gunnthra depending on what you see is most fit for your team. So starting with her stat distribution, we can see her attack and speed are 31 and 33 respectively, which makes her a very mediocre offensive unit. However, since she's a horse unit, she's able to utilize Hone Cavalry, which will grant her plus 6 attack and plus 6 speed. Defensively, she's running 16 defense and 25 resistance. While they're not the greatest, her resistance is high enough for her to utilize her basic kit effectively. So looking into her default kit, we start off with Blizzard, her unique tome. Blizzard gives her plus 3 resistance and grants her bonus attack equivalent to the amount of debuffs her opponent has during combat. Her tome works really well with her default kit because it focuses on debuffing the enemy units. Her specialist is Glacies, which boosts her damage output by 80% of her resistance. This works really well with the innate resistance her tome gives, as well as the resistance that she gains from her skill Fortress Resistance 3. Fortress Resistance grants her plus 5 resistance, but lowers her attack by 3. While it seems counterintuitive at first by lowering her attack output, it helps her trigger her poi abilities, which helps her increase her damage output that makes up for the attack drop from Fortress Resistance. Her beast skill is Chilling Seal, which is a unique skill. It helps her globally debuff units that have the lowest defense at the start of each turn, as long as she's above 50% HP. Interestingly, if multiple enemies tie with having the lowest defense, she's able to debuff all of them. Finally, for her C skill, she has Resistance Ploy 3. So at the start of her turn, you are able to give all enemies in cardinal directions from her minus 5 resistance as long as her resistance is higher by her enemies by 1 or more. This skill really helps her damage output because it essentially gives her plus 10 more damage to her attack if she attacks a unit that was debuffed by this skill, because the enemy loses 5 resistance and she gains 5 more attack because of her tome, which totals up to be 10 additional damage from one skill. All in all, her base kit is already strong from the get-go and can function properly with minimal skill inheritance. So our first set I have for you guys today is a debuffer set. It basically uses the default set because I found it to be the most effective in allowing her to debuff units. Since I already went over most of her skills just now, I won't be going over this set too long. So here's a picture on the left of the most optimal build for her debuffing set. Most of the skills in her base set allows her to effectively do her job, so not many changes are needed. Her assist skill is flexible depending on your playstyle. You can either run Glacies or Iceberg as your special. However, I believe that Glimmer would be the best special here because her tome grants her additional attack, so Glimmer would deal more damage overall. And finally, for her seals, you want to be running Attack Ploy to debuff other units that your Chilling Smite can't target, so that you're able to utilize the ability of your tome more. Plus 3 Resistance Seal is also an alternative seal to help you trigger your poi skills, or the Attack Smoke Seal can help you lower the enemy's attack and increase your own attack on your own turn if you use her on defense. So IV wise, her optimal boon and bane would be plus resistance and minus defense. You want plus resistance because you want her to have high enough resistance to trigger her poi abilities. For bane, you want minus defense because HP is needed to keep her Chilling Seal active and you don't want to lower her offensive capabilities. However, most bane and boons are okay if you aim mainly to debuff, except for minus resistance because how it negatively affects your poi skills. Moving on, we will look into our Gronnraven set next. So as everyone knows, we will be using the Gronnraven and Triangle Adept combo. This will allow us to reduce the attack of all blues and colorless units by 40% while increasing our attack by 40% against them. This will help us check popular units like Bolin and Reinhardt easier. For our special, we will run Moonbow because it is a special that will help her increase her attack the most frequently to help her OTK the units she needs to check. For her beast skill, we will need to run Bowbreaker 3 because it will help her check Bolins easier since her defense is fairly low and prevents Bolin from doubling her. Her Chilling Seal is also another option to help reduce offensive threats of the glass cannons on the enemy team. However, Chilling Seal will most of the time can only target one unit, which makes it difficult for Gunnthra to engage on the correctly debuffed unit. For C skill, we would run either Attack Smoke or Hone Cavalry. Attack Smoke will help lower the attacks of surrounding units and help her and her team tank more, but Hone Cavalry can be used to help buff other horse allies. For Seal, we run Distant Defense because it will allow her to tank both of the major threats, Bolin and Reinhardt, better since they are both ranged units. Now, for her IVs, we would want her to have plus speed because it will help her in preventing units from doubling her. However, since she's mostly a defensive unit, most boons won't affect her negatively as much. For her Bane, we would prefer minus HP because since Gronnraven and Triangle Adept scale from percentages, having higher defensive resistance will allow us to reduce more incoming damage. Her worst bane would be minus speed because it would allow too many units to double her, which will hurt her defensive capabilities. Finally, moving on to her Gronnblade build, her tome would of course be Gronnblade because it allows her to gain additional damage by the amount of buffs she has on her. We coupled that with Glimmer because Glimmer will scale off the attack boost that she gets from Gronnblade, which will lead to a large increase in her damage once her special procs. We run Fury because we need her to get into Desperation range by the recoil damage she takes after combat, and run Desperation so she can double units without getting hit in between. For her C skill, we will run Home Cavalry to help her other horse allies and run Home Cavalry on them as well so she can gain plus 6 attack and plus 6 speed as well. Just from one Home Cavalry boost alone, she gains an additional 18 attack due to Gronnblade. For her skill, we will run plus 3 speed to help her in doubling more units since her innate speed is relatively low. For IVs, you want her boon to be plus speed because it will help her the most in OTKing most units by allowing her to double them. Any other bane is decent but will not hurt her offensive capability by much. For her bane, you want her to have minus defense because she will not be tanking melee heroes with her anyways, and she should be OTKing all other colorless units. Her other banes are alright because she gains a large attack boost from Home Cavalry that minus attack won't even affect her that much. Minus speed on her is much worse, and I don't suggest running this build if you did. Alright, thanks guys for watching this video. Hopefully it was insightful. I'm so new to this, so I would appreciate any tips or comments to be left in the comment section below so I can read them later. Thank you!